There are over 1.3 million patterns on Ravelry. We can't look at them all. Well, can I? No, I can't. So how do you choose? I find that word of mouth from other podcasters has helped me find the patterns that I want to purchase. So I'm here to provide some word of mouth to you by telling you about 6 patterns that I spent my hard-earned cash on this month. Follow me into the Maker's Lounge and I'll tell you exactly why these 6 fantastic patterns are wallet worthy. Okay, tell me if this happens to you. You are scrolling along on Ravelry or Pinterest or Insta or whatever you like, and you see a pattern and it takes your breath away. You might even say, wow, out loud, even though you're alone. Happens to me on the reg. Now, my initial wow reaction to a pattern I find on a social doesn't always lead to a purchase. I really try not to let my lizard brain take over my smart person brain and just buy patterns without giving them a good once-over first. I need to read that pattern info and assess whether or not I think that's a pattern that's really worth my time in making it and my cash in purchasing it. I collect patterns like other people collect books. I have over 6,800 patterns in my personal Ravelry library from all the sources that I've got, from all the books I've entered, all the magazines I've entered, and all the individual patterns that I've purchased through Rav. Those individual purchases currently total about 246. So let's take a look at the 6 that made the cut this month. Before we dive in and take a look at the first pattern, I know I'm going to get questions, so I might as well deal with this right now. The sweater that I'm wearing is Grace Notes by Joji Locatelli, which can be found in Field Guide number 22. Grace, definitely a wallet-worthy purchase, not included in the 6 I'm going to show you. But I know you're going to ask. It's Malin DK done in a fade of, I think, 3 or 4 different yarns. 3. It's a fade in 3 different colorways. Okay, enough about that. Let's look at pattern number 1. Pattern number 1 is the MagicDots Raglan by Hinterm Stein. I talked about Hinterm Stein a few videos ago. Here's the link up here to that video, the one where I asked if I could recreate my store-bought jacket in a knitted version. And the pattern that I decided on to do that was Cozy Cubes by Hinterm Stein. Go check that out. Here, once more, just quickly, is the swatch for the Cozy Cubes. So yes, I am already a Hinterm Stein fan, but I was searching through her patterns, as I want to do, and I came across this one called MagicDots, and up here you can see a blow up of it. I'm just going to leave the pictures of the patterns up as I talk about them, because it really drives me crazy when I'm watching YouTube creators who are talking about a pattern. They mention the name once and then they keep talking about it for 10 minutes and I can't see it and I don't remember what it's called. So here it is. It's going to stay there for each one. The photo will be up there the whole time. So this is MagicDots. This pattern was published in August 2022, so it's now a couple of years old. There are 99 projects for this pattern in Ravelry in 284 queues. It is a top-down raglan that can be either short or long sleeve. It's pretty much a classic semi-fitted silhouette. It's a little bit boxy, but Hinterm Stein's patterns always include lots of great instruction for modifications and variations. She really does consider that not everybody likes their sweaters to fit the same way, and she will help you with good instruction on how to get there if you want to change it. It's in a DK weight, and she had lots of suggestions for fibers, so pretty much any fiber. You could do it in a nice smooth merino wool, you could do it in plant-based fibers, whatever you want. The cool detail of this pattern is these little slip stitch dotted colorwork rows. And again, because it's slip stitching, you're only ever working one color at a time, which is my kind of color work. And one of the cool things about this pattern is you might need to buy a sweater quantity of the yarn for the base color, but I'm betting that you could find something in your stash to work the little colored dots. You could even go scrappy and change the colors every time with a different yarn. You could use a gradient that will automatically change colors every time, a self-striping, whatever you want. This has a lot of potential for variation. You could also make the whole thing scrappy and just switch up colors in each of these sections between the dotted parts. Like, it's just already split into flattering, stripy sections, ready for you to apply your own color preference magic. I can see this being a great summer pattern that I would reach for a lot. It's a DK weight. I don't have a ton of DK weight in my stash, but I did just buy some recently from Spinnacle Yarns, which is a local yarn shop to me. I will put the link for Spinnacle down in the show notes. Spinnacle's owner is also named Nicole, so how could you go wrong? And I found that I have enough of this fabulous turquoisey blue in Manos del Uruguay Milo, which is a merino and linen blend. How cool is that? Look at it. Isn't it cool? It's cool. And I have just enough of this Stolen Stitches made by Carol Feller. It's called Nua, and it's sport weight, and it's a really cool blend that I can't remember what's in it right now. I don't have the tag. Oscar, can you please help me out and tell me what the blend is in this yarn? Thank you. So I think this as the background with this as the dots would be pretty darn cool. And I know that I would wear this color combo a lot. And on colder days, I could throw my navy jacket over top. How great is that? So good. This pattern is just over €8, which is about $12.70 Canadian, worth every penny. Pattern number 2 is Pina Colada by Thea Colman, who is also Baby Cocktails. Now, I got to admit, I have just a little bit of an obsession with Thea Colman these days. I am just loving every single pattern she has published since about a year ago. They immediately go into my queue. Now, Thea is the same designer who designed the smoke show vest that I knit back in the fall, and I think I finished it in January. I can't quite remember, but anyway, here it is. I wear it a ton. Look at that gorgeous cable work. Isn't that something? I absolutely love this vest. I'd love to have a bunch in different colors, actually. She's also the designer of another sweater that I have on the go right now that's a whip, and that is the Vanilla Affogato. Look at the texture work on that. This is a beautiful design, beautiful sweater. The textured lace pattern is actually quite a bit trickier than it looks. I did swatch, and practice, but even still, I really have to, you see how many stitch markers are in there? I have a ton of stitch markers in there just to make sure I'm not losing my spot. I haven't been able to memorize this pattern yet. Normally by about this stage, I've got it memorized and I just go. I'm not there yet. Anyway, I did want to show you one. This is not one of the patterns I'm talking about today, but I get distracted, right? I do, I admit. I wanted to show you one of the details. So on the sides, on each side, look at this detail that she's built into the ribbing. This little kind of cable repeat that goes right up through the rest of the design. I just love that sort of thing. And yes, I have chosen to put a little contrast edging on there. That's not part of the pattern. That's just me. When I knit with a very solid with no tonal variety at all, I like to add just a little bit of something so it doesn't end up looking just a little bit too all one thing. Just me. Anyway, as you can see, I love her patterns. So let's talk about this one. It's all over cable. She just published it in June 2024, like just this month. So there are only 27 projects, but it is in 133 queues, and it's going to end up in a lot more queues, I'm sure. It's worsted. We'll talk more about that in a minute. It's bottom up, seamed, drop shouldered, cropped, and a little on the boxy side. Now, I'm not normally into boxy sweaters unless they're cropped, and drop shoulder is okay for me as long as the drop is shallow and the sleeve is snug, not tight, just fitted. So I may have to modify this one just a little bit to slim down the sleeve and shallow up that armhole. I'll play around with it when I do my blueprint, my pattern blueprint, and map it all out on a single page like I like to do. There's a link up there if you want to go check out what the heck I'm talking about. I have been swatching this sweater already, even though I know I'm not going to start knitting it until later this summer. I couldn't stand it. I had to get it on the needles. I'm going to use Sunday Morning DK, which is a blend of blue face Leicester and Masham wool. It's just squishy and fantastic. And because this is only a DK and I need a worsted yarn for this, I'm adding a lace weight merino. This is Fleece Artist Saldana in 100% merino. So there are the yarns that I'm holding together, essentially marling, although they're pretty tonally close, to get this. Isn't that gorgeous? It's so interesting, isn't it? I love how it changes both of these yarns up. By blending them together, you get a completely different color. Anyway, I'm very happy with this. I am swatching both in stockinette and in pattern to get gauge. I always swatch in pattern, not just to make sure I've got gauge in pattern, but also because I want to practice it before I get knitting. I'm pretty excited about this sweater. You will see this on me in the fall. If you don't see it on me in the fall, say, hey, Nicole, what happened to that cool Thea Colman sweater that you were swatching back in June? And remind me. This pattern is $8 US, which is about $11.40 Canadian, and worth it. The Summer Gansey has 56 projects on Ravelry and is in 155 queues. It's top down and fitted with a set-in sleeve, but still seamless. And although it's seamless, it's still structured because she does actually come back and pick up the stitches around the armhole, use short row shaping for the sleeve cap, and then knit the sleeve down. I'm all for top-down seamless stuff, provided it's got some structure. It's just important to me, and I think it helps the garment hang better and wear better. It's not actually a Gansey. It doesn't have that saddle shoulder section that Ganseys usually have, but the textures in it are very Gansey-like. There's a lot of changes in just knit purl texture, which keeps it interesting. And I always love a Henley placket. The only modification I think I'm going to make to this one is I'm probably going to do it pretty A-line out right after just starting just below the bust. So the smallest point will be just below the bust and then A-line out to accommodate my hips. I may not knit it quite as long as she's got it here. These days I'm preferring that my sweaters land at the high hip, kind of like this Grace Notes does. I've already purchased yarn. I went down to Beehive Yarns, which is another one of my local yarn shops. The link is down below. And I got this Hempathy by Elizabeth Lavold. This is Hempathy. And look, again, I know again with this color, right? But it's fantastic. This is all plant-based fiber. So it's cotton, durable cotton, it says, whatever that means. Hemp and modal, which is a type of rayon, really. And this color is called Caribbean. And it's totally Nicole. I would really love to get this sweater knit this summer so I could wear it like September, October. Considering the number of whips I've got going right now, I think that's not very likely, but it's possible. This pattern is just over €8, and again, that's about $12.70 Canadian, and worth it. I came across this next one, Malin by Natasja Hornby, when I was searching on the woolly thistle. Do you know about the woolly thistle? My good friend Wendy has talked to me several times about the woolly thistle, and she's hinted, not quite so subtly, that I needed to get my butt online and take a look at the woolly thistle. So I finally did. It is an online shop. I think they also have a brick and mortar store, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I went on there and I saw fantastic yarns and amazing patterns and kits, and they have tons of really good YouTube videos that unfortunately I've only had time to watch a few of them, but they are worth watching. Anyway, I saw this rustic woolly cardigan and just immediately fell in love with all the detailing and the simple color work in the body. Natasja Hornby is also the designer of the artist shawl, which was the subject of a knit-along that I and Smitta from the yarn store Your Next Knit ran earlier this spring. This is my finished wrap-over version of the artist shawl. Same designer. There are 129 projects in 496 queues. It's another one that's top down and seamless, but still structured with really cool short row sleeve caps. Here's a detailed pic of the short row sleeve cap. And look at some of the edging details on this sweater. I just think it's amazing. Just reminds me of architecture and a little bit of, again, of those changing textured Ganseys. I'm just so attracted to this. She's got the most fantastic hand-drawn schematics that I've ever seen, complete with some of the garment's textures and shaded in color on the schematic. It's just gorgeous. And there are links to tutorials all throughout this, to tutorials and YouTube videos and all sorts of things. So if you download the PDF version, you can actually click on the link in the PDF version and it will take you right to the corresponding video. I just love it. It's a long pattern, but again, very detailed, tons of great information. Very well written. I'm really keen to knit this. It's Aran weight, so it would go pretty quickly. The yarn it calls for is Locatelli. Now, Locatelli is a very woolly wool, Icelandic wool. Unfortunately, way too woolly for me. There's no way I could wear it. It would just be too itchy. It would be too itchy for me against my neck. So I will order some yarn, but I'm going to find something that's a little more skin friendly. I can handle a certain amount of natural woolly woolness, but not to the degree of Locatelli, unfortunately. This pattern is a little over €7, which is about $12 Canadian. And so worth it. Now, just for something a little bit different, because otherwise all of today is sweater, 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 sweater. This is a Mosaic pillow, and I am so keen to knit this. And it's another one I found on Woolly Thistle, and I got so excited about this. This is the Mosaic Carpet Cushion by Marie Wallin, and it's a mosaic color work, again, which means slip stitch color work. You're only ever working one color at a time. This looks way more complicated and difficult than it actually is. Up here, there's a link to go watch my mosaic knitting video if you don't, or if you're not familiar with mosaic and you want to have a little better understanding of what it's like. Just click there, watch the rest of this video, come back, click there. And go check that out. I just instantly fell in love with this. Seriously, there is nothing not to like about this pillow. It seems like it's not a very well-known pattern. There are 25 projects and it's only in about 92 queues, including mine now. It's done in Rowan felted tweed, which is a DK weight, 6 different colors, a maximum of 200 yards in each color. Now that's only for the front. For the back, you could do whatever you want. You could do this all over again and have it the same front and back. You could knit a plain back. You could do a woven fabric envelope back, which is what I might do to make it easy to pull the inner cushion out and give this a bath if it needs it. I'll decide that later. But I'm very excited about getting this front knit. That also makes it a great stash buster, all those colors in small amounts. So here's a picture of the carpet in our living room, and I want this pillow to go on our white sofa that's in the living room. And yeah, there's Oscar fur. Don't look too close because there's Oscar fur all over this. It is to your fur. Who else's fur would it be? It's certainly not mine. And just for fun, here's a pic of Oscar surveying his territory sitting on the back of the white sofa. So I dug into the stash, and here's the color combo I came up with. So you can see how these colors are definitely going to work here, and they're going to look beautiful with the carpet. I can tell already this is going to be like semi-instant gratification. It's going to be potato chip knitting. I'm not going to be able to put it down once I start knitting it. So I'm going to have to be very careful about when I actually put this on the needles. This pattern is 4 Great Britain pounds, which is about $7.25 Canadian. And my last pattern for this month is this amazing pattern by Yumiko Alexander of DanDoh Yarns. Yumiko is an incredible designer and she's extra sweet. I saw her recently on a Fiberside chat through Longmont Yarn Shop, and she showed off a whole bunch of her designs, and it was just inspiration after inspiration after inspiration. And then she ended with this one because it's her newest design, and she said, "And I'm doing a knit along later this month." Ah, yay! So I immediately bought the pattern, ordered the yarn, and joined the knit along, which started last week. The knit along is running from June 22nd to August 3rd. So there's still time to join. I will have the link to the Ravelry page for this pattern down in my show notes. On the Ravelry page, there's a link to go to join the knit along if you want to. And there's also a Facebook group, so you could go search that too. I am very excited about knitting this ASAP because I want to wear it while it is still summer. There are only 35 projects so far because it's a brand new pattern. It's already on 168 queues, and I think as this knit along progresses and people upload their finished projects, it's going to take off like wildfire. It's just gorgeous. It's knit in worsted weight linen. This is the DanDoh linen that I ordered and purchased from Yumiko. It's a chainette construction, so it is, a thick, heavier weight linen, but doesn't feel heavy at all and doesn't feel rough. And I'm told it softens up like crazy with wear and washing, as linen generally does. It's a very loose gauge. It's knit on 5.5 millimeter needles, which I think is a 9 in US sizing. And it's knit in 5 separate panels. So the front is knit in 3 panels, the back is knit in 2 panels, and it has this really interesting join you can see here in the close-up, that the knitting actually goes through an extra big yarn over hole and joins back up with the piece beside it. It's really cool. I've never done a join like this before. I'm very excited to do this. And Yumiko is helping everybody through that joining process in the knit along. I haven't got very far, but here's what I've got so far. This is the lower half of one side of the back, which has the very big open lace weight. It just goes super fast. When you're doing this kind of huge open lace work on needles this size, and you're only doing half a piece at a time, it really feels like you're accomplishing something, even if you only have short periods of time to knit. This is $9 US, which is about $13 Canadian, and worth it. I'll also put a link to where you can buy this fabulous yarn, both in Canada and in the US. Okay, so you've added to cart, you've clicked purchase, you've shelled out your hard-earned cash, you selected your yarn, you've swatched, and you're all ready to knit. Now what I want you to do is stop. Before you cast on the actual project and start knitting, I want you to go look for errata, E-R-R-A-T-A. Errata is any mistakes in the pattern that are found after the publication of the pattern. There are a few different places you can look for this. Often on the pattern page itself on Ravelry, you'll see a spot down the side under the photographs or in the body of the text where it might mention that there's errata available for the pattern with a link to go there. Another thing you can do is go to the designer's website and check there. Just use their search box and type in errata, E-R-R-A-T-A, and see if they have an errata page. Lots of them do. If you're purchasing the PDF patterns from Ravelry for download, what the designer will almost always do when errata is found, there's an error and they've corrected it, is they will send you an update for that pattern, which you can go into your library on Ravelry and click on the update and download that new version. Make sure you've got the newest version before you start knitting. Just save yourself those headaches. Mistakes happen. Even with well-tested, tech-edited, experienced designers who publish all the time, errors happen. Magazines are particularly bad for errata because they are on such tight deadlines and scrambling to get those patterns tech-edited and tested, photographed, and laid out into the printed issue. They end up with quite a few mistakes. Vogue Knitting has a very large errata section. Just a little pro tip for you there. Save yourself some headaches. Go find that errata. In my Ravelry favorites, I have created bundles for different designers, and I will be creating bundles for each of the wallet-worthy groups of patterns for each month. If you want to pop in there and have a look, you're welcome to. And I'm planning to make this a regular thing, so I'm going to have another handful of patterns for you on the last Saturday of every month, or almost every month. We'll see how it goes. And please tell us what patterns you came across this month that you couldn't live without and shelled out some hard-earned cash for. We all want to know about them. I guarantee it. In the meantime, here's a video that you might enjoy. So I say goodbye. Oscar says goodbye. Keep those needles clicking, and we'll see you next week.